Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis update of gold and silver. We're going to be looking at the dollar, the 10-year yield, the precious metals, and then ETFs and individual companies. So we'll jump right in. I'll give you my financial opinion. Please don't use it as advice. But here we go. This is the dollar. The dollar was up a little bit today, 0.13%. So we broke to the upside of this little pattern here. We've been chopping sideways ever since above this, and I've been waiting for this to come on down. Maybe we still got more to go to the upside before it comes on back. It is yet to be seen for this return move upward so we had a breakdown, and then we're doing a return move upward somewhere, and we could peak all the way at 99 on the index eventually. The 10-year has continued to move up. We're at 1.64%. Oil is highly correlated to this. This move here, looking at gold and silver, I think that's more correlated with the dollar. So, but we've been moving on up. We're up 1.64%, and we're breaking out of this pattern here. Inverted head and shoulders. I will say this. Gold has liked high inflationary environments with increasing interest rates. That's what really sets gold afire. So we're going into this type of environment. It doesn't mean that the conditions have been set yet, and it's impacted and affected enough people to move bonds out of bonds yet, in my opinion. But I mean, that's where we're at. I think eventually this is going to rotate money out of stocks and bonds when interest rates get high enough. I don't know that exact trigger point, but I bet you we're getting pretty close to it. Gold was down today, $21 or so, roughly. We are still inside this large pattern. We've been bouncing back and forth. Will we get a little scare where we come down and then rocket launch higher? Difficult to say. But we were down today. We were inside the pattern. We have not broken outside of this pattern. We got a little bit of a break here, and then we came right back inside of it. The sellers are controlling the move at this point. Silver down. We're playing with the bottom trend line down here. I can even move this guy down a little bit if I can grab it. Man, I don't know if I can grab this thing. There we go. Probably. So we've got support kind of where the bottom of this trend line is here. We could come down a little bit further to tag that line. Platinum also sold off, $23 down today. We're kind of rolling over here. We've been chopping back and forth. We've had good buying pressure here off this resistance line, I should say support line. Chopping sideways, we had a little bit of a big down day today. So we'll see how that momentum works its way off. But overall, on a big picture view, this is a good spot, I think, to be looking. And there's still the possibility that we see a pullback, maybe even into the upper 800s. It's still a possibility of coming around here. What you start looking for is we've got this little channel. Is it squeezing up where we could potentially break? We'll have to see how that works out. This one's squeezed up a little bit and broke to the downside. Now, are we squeezing up again to break to the downside again? It's possible. And I would love for that to happen because that'd be a huge buyer down here for platinum in the lower 900s, upper 800s, if it gets back down there again. Doesn't look pretty for a lot of the companies. I mean, obviously you squeeze up like this, it's going to kind of come on down. So the momentum's to the downside. Again, we came on down. Looks like we were trying to move on higher. Bearish engulfing, momentum's downward. Since yesterday, momentum's downward. And what we see here is kind of this pattern here where we squeezed up, had a bearish engulfing. And yesterday I came on, I said, we're going down. Yeah, it headed lower. Metallic minerals followed suit, getting a little bit of support right where the resistance, or especially support line is. Bounced off a little bit, but not too much. Koya kind of bucked the trend. It's going sideways. Discovery Silver I threw it in this massive pattern here. It's got support right where it's at. It looks like it's trying to coil up here. This could, I mean, it's a weird looking type pattern here, but I mean, this could break to the downside, guys. I mean, we could see a little spill out before heading higher. And I do still think we're early in this mix. Looking at the right-hand side, I mean, this is a little bit weird. Descending type patterns, usually these break to the upside, but we're getting some selling pressure. Newmont, a little bit of selling pressure, but it's a hammer pattern, so maybe we can get some buying pressure to come back in. Mag Silver getting a little bit more selling pressure. Yamana Gold, again, we're still within the pattern. It's just we're getting some selling pressure today. Selling off. Impact Silver is trying to hold its own right at this support line down here. I can draw one in real quick. I'm just looking at that as a support line. Aftermath Silvers, I mean, it's right there at the last line of defense. This could drop out and go lower. Arcana Silver still bouncing around down here on top of this massive downtrend line. PLG getting a little bit of a sell-off today. If you guys have the cojones, and I don't know if I jump in right at this point, but if you start to see it firm up and start to go back up, I mean, maybe, or maybe we can scare people out of it and get down to like almost like a buck, somewhere down here, and reverse this ship going higher. Looking at the royalty companies, we got Sand. That one, I mean, these are all selling off as well. Looks like it finished quite strong. We could see a little bit more downside. Franco-Nevada finishing, I mean, it's strong selling pressure. We've got lots of strong selling pressure and not as much buying pressure. We could see this blow to the downside, guys. High likelihood. Still looking, I'm just trying to see, we still have big buying or selling pressure in this as well. Teuton Resources, we got lots of selling pressure up here. It came back down today. We could see this head a lot lower. It's in the cards. Wheaton Precious Metals, heading on lower. It's still in its pattern, finishing quite strong to the downside. Gold Royalty, looks like it's breaking to the downside. This is a bearish engulfing yesterday. I said, look, we're going to see some downside pressure here, and we're seeing it. And it finished quite strong, so I don't know if this is going to return up. Some good selling pressure. Same with Metallo Minerals. Looks like it's starting to break to the downside. We could see a good pullback here, guys, in all of these different royalty companies and mining companies. It looks like we're still seeing some selling pressure, and it's across the board. Anything I look at, we're still seeing selling pressure. The buyers have not stepped in. These are big down candlesticks, which means the sellers are still here, and they're finishing strong. Doesn't mean that, I mean, we could blow out to the downside. The short term can be anything. And I did some analysis today with Patrick Karam. I'll share it on the channel here soon, talking about precious metals. So you're going to get a big picture view of it. And we're bouncing around in the short term. We could kind of break out to the downside and then launch. I'll post that up here shortly. Probably over the next couple of days, we'll get that up. And you guys can see kind of his opinion, because I was asking a lot about gold and silver type setups. In the precious metals, we did lots of ratios and looking at all that stuff. So look for that video coming out. I'll probably put it out this weekend, and you guys can take a look at it and see, you know, if that helps you out on deciding anything. We are probably still a little bit early to this game. But we've got patterns. They're set up. I'm just wondering what's going to happen in the very short term. And nobody knows the short term, guys. Our patterns and our if I were to back out here, it works very well in the long term. And sometimes these guys kind of bounce out, scare everyone, and then rocket higher. But something, and I just use Newmont because it's kind of you get a nice, good, big old pattern. The short term is really hard to read, but these big long-term patterns are made by fundamentals. Anything that's 5 years plus are patterns that were developed by fundamentals. So Maybe there's a scare in the short term. I don't think so because we've got the 10-year yield bouncing higher. So the way that I kind of view this is we're just early to this mix, and energy's been moving on up, and that usually goes with the 10-year yield. Those go hand in hand. And I think we're just early. I think there's some people rotating money around, and energy's going to go up. CPI is going to go up, all this inflationary stuff, and then people are going to finally figure out, like, hey, maybe we should put it in precious metals. The money's not in precious metals. The money's not in energy. There's a lot of money that can rotate into these sectors and push them quite a bit higher. But in the short term, it is looking quite weak. If you guys like this analysis, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And thank you for listening. This is Finding Value.